India has launched a series of aviation accidents. The dead includes a young man who won a lottery, and you will be shocked that he was one of the 3,000 Indians. Was the New York's World Trade Center's building inherently weak? So what explains these vastly different results from the same impact? And this was the deadliest Indian disaster in more than 3 decades. अरे आ तो एरोप्लेन छे एरोप्लेन टूटी गयो. Why specifically Iraq and Afghanistan? World Trade Center's Building 7 was not hit by any plane. You must know that on 9/11 the US defense system was on a drill. A helicopter have also been crashed, a wake-up call for the Indian aviation safety. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to our YouTube channel Barbina Awan. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. It seems like India has launched a series of aviation accidents. So this was Air India Flight 171, the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. The Dreamliner, such an ironically named, since it swallowed many dreams. So this Air India Dreamliner departed from Ahmedabad Airport for London Gatwick. Soon after takeoff, the very Dreamliner collided with a residential building, a hostel of BJ Medical College. And this very Dreamliner was carrying 242 people, out of which 241 died on the spot. Apart from onboard casualties, almost 38 people lost their lives on the ground by the hit of this Dreamliner and many injured. But here, like everyone in Pakistan, I am also praying for the solo survivor Rajesh Vishwas Kumar and mourning with the families who lost their loved ones in this tragic accident. Furthermore, our respected Prime Minister Mia Shahbaz Sharif, Deputy Prime Minister and other officials have the same sympathy for the victims and their families. We pray that may God comfort them. Now, if we look further towards the Dreamliner's condition and the official statement, so we come to know that this Dreamliner underwent a comprehensive maintenance check in 2023. It was due for the next scheduled comprehensive check in December this year. The right side engine of nearly 12-year-old Air India Dreamliner was overhauled and installed in March 2025. Officials claim that there was no issue with the engine, but the Air India remained silent so far. The very Dreamliner swallowed the dreams of approximately 169 Indians, 53 British, 7 Portuguese and 1 Canadian. The dead includes a young man who won a lottery, a family returning from wedding, Eid, and a student eating lunch. Apart from them, many have been charred beyond recognition. The news arrived in a simple email that their son Sahil Patel have won a visa lottery, and you will be shocked that he was one of the 3,000 Indians chosen by a random ballot for a quitted 2 years UK work visa under the British government's India Young Professional Scheme. For the 25 years old from a middle class family, it was a pathway for a modest home in Sarud village, 93 miles away from Ahmedabad, a biggest city in the western Indian state of Gujarat, to a new life in London. For his family, the visa was the culmination of every prayer, a chance of social mobility they have worked their whole life for. But less than 2 months later, the excitement turned into grief, as the Sahil Patel was one of those 241 people who died in this tragic incident. And this was the deadliest Indian disaster in more than 3 decades. Dozens of people on ground were killed, including several students at BJ Medical College, when the plane erupted into ball of fire after crashing into their mess. And several others were injured, and they are still in critical condition. These killed on the board include young students who were en route to London on a scholarship, a family returning home from a wedding in Gujarat, another that was visiting India for Eid, and there are many like Sahil Patel whose family believe that they have won a luck for a lifetime. In the mess hall in Gujarat's oldest medical school, a student named Rakesh Dior was finishing his lunch along with 70 other medical students. Rakesh was in second year of his undergraduate studies, but friends and families recall that he did not like wear white coat. It means that he did not want to become a doctor, but his family and friends pushed him to do so. Resultantly, they lost their loved one in a greed of a profession. Another 22-year Irfan, a crew member, also died on the spot. His uniform was the symbol of pride for his family, and he was a sole source for bread and butter for his family. When his face was shown to his father in the hospital, his father collapsed against a wall, his voice raw lament to God. "I have been religious my whole life," he cried. His words were echoing in the sterile hallway. "I gave charity. I taught my son character. Why this punishment upon him? Why my child?" Besides him, his mother also refused to believe that her son was died. And there was another family too. Their recognition was not came from face, but a small gold pendant. It was a gift from a husband to his wife, Sayyid Nafisa Banu, and it was the only way to identify her. Nafisa Banu was one of his 4 family members on the board who died, including her husband Sayyid Inayat Ali and their 2 young children, Taskeen Ali and Waki Ali. They had been buzzing around with excitement, talking about their return to London after spending a wonderful 2 months in India celebrating Eid al-Adha. Just 500 meters away from a main plane crash site, a rickshaw driver Rajesh Patel was waiting for his next customer. The 50-year-old man was the solo earner for his family. He was not struck with the debris, but with the explosion extreme heat which engulfed him in flames, and he is now in CCU fighting for his life. In the narrow lines of Meghanipur, Tara Ben had just finished his morning chores and was lying down for a rest. The sudden deafening roar that struck her home tin roof sounded like a gas cylinder explosion, a familiar danger in the densely packed neighborhood. But the screams from outside that followed told her that this was different. She heard a man shriek in Gujarati, "Are aato aeroplane che! Aeroplane tooty gayo." Dozens of families waited for a name to be called, for a familiar face on the list. Amid all this, then an official announcement cut the air, saying identified remains would only be released to their relatives after 72 hours after a post-mortem procedure. As previously I have told you that it seems like India has launched a series of aviation accidents because only after 3 days of that plane crash, a helicopter have also been crashed in the northern Indian state of Uttarakhand, killing 7 people on the spot. Now I have $1 million question for Indian people, that is this a tragic coincidence or a wake-up call for the Indian aviation safety? Crash over crash, what the authorities are doing and why they are playing with the lives of innocent people. Above all this, we stand with the victims and their families. May God comfort them. So guys, now please refill your popcorn boxes and be ready to explore some facts about the worldwide famous incident that happened with World Trade Center, commonly known as 9/11. Here, a thought-provoking question arises that how did an ultra-high steel structure building of World Trade Center completely collapsed from a minor jet impact when the 2024 Indian plane carrying over 200 passengers only caused partial damage to a reinforced modest airport building which remained standing intact? Was the New York's World Trade Center's building inherently weak, or was there more to the story? Because physics is universal, applying equally everywhere. So what explains these vastly different results from the same impact? The official 9/11 narrative claims that the jet fuel generated extremely high temperature, causing steel beams to melt away. However, this raises a glaring inconsistency because the steel's melting point is approximately 2500 Fahrenheit. Yet, a jet fuel produces maximum temperature of around 1800 Fahrenheit. This huge discrepancy sparks a burning question. Was there an element of controlled demolition? Many engineers and architects are sounding the alarm and questioning the official story. They are crying foul over the physics-defying collapse and demanding answers from the authorities. Many people argue that the building collapsed at a speed of free fall that only occur in a controlled implosion, where the structure collapsed inward due to deliberate demolition charges. That is why the documentaries on 9/11 like Loose Change and Architects and Engineers for the 9/11 Truth claims that this was not only a crash but a controlled demolition. Despite many aeroplane crashes on airports worldwide, no building have ever collapsed in this manner, totally flattening to the ground in mere seconds, showing no resistance to the collapse. This inconsistency fuels speculation that officials' explanation might be hiding something or a deliberate act could have contributed to the disaster. Now, if we come to the Pentagon, this Pentagon headquarters of the US Department of Defense was hit by a plane on 9/11. Ironically, this highly secured building with cameras covering every angle lacks clear video footage of the crash. Released footage shows only white blur and not the plane itself. People are still asking that with extensive CCTV coverage, why there is no clear video of the plane crashing into the Pentagon. When the first plane hit the World Trade Center, no media covered it live, assuming that it might be a helicopter crash. However, the media outlets were ready to cover the live footage of the second plane crash impact. Did media outlet have prior knowledge of the second plane arrival, or was the coverage scripted in advance? World Trade Center's Building 7 was not hit by any plane, but yet this was collapsed with a perfect demolition style. BBC's journalist Jane Stanley announced live on TV that Building 7 have collapsed, even though the building was still standing in a live footage behind her. It means that some people already know that what is gonna happen. But if the official says that it was a real terror attack, so then there are many questions. Where is the clear footage of the Pentagon attack? How the news of World Trade Center's building broadcasted even before it collapsed? How media outlets showcased all this with a managed plan? If we take the example of countries like India, the plane crashes and we get the video footage of every angle. But in case of 9/11, we see that either the footage is blurred or something is missing. If we see and try to understand, we come to know that either the media was in control of COVID or the surveillance video footage was not released initially. Above all, one thing is very clear, that something was fishy. The World Trade Center's owner Larry Silverstein had taken billions of dollars in insurance of the buildings just months prior, including coverage for the act of terrorism. After the incident, he received double payout because two planes were involved and they were counted as two separate attacks. Is this just a coincidence? How did Larry know to include terrorism coverage in his insurance policy? Did he have the advance info about impending attack, or is this an incredibly suspicious coincidence? You must know that on 9/11, the US defense system was on a drill, which caused a delay in emergency response. This is astonishing because the countries like India, there is an immediate response to the plane crash. Yet, a world's strongest military allowed such a massive lapse in security. Was this also a coincidence? Did NORAD know about the impending attacks and still proceed with the drill? Many individuals like firefighters, survivors, and ex-CIA officers claims that this was not only a crash. They say that they heard a sounds of implosion even before the plane crashed. Some says that they were strictly warned to not come to office that day. This blows the official story wide away openly that is being questioned everywhere in the world. Millions of people in America and Canada claims that this was a pre-planned operation. Professors and scientists like Ron Paul or international figures demand a truth commission. The concerning thing is that the US waged war on Afghanistan and Iraq after this incident. Why specifically Iraq and Afghanistan? Because these countries are rich in natural resources. The Patriot Act was passed, slashing civil liberties. Trillions of dollars were funneled into a war funding. So now here we need to think that who benefited from this chaos? Was it corporations eyeing Middle Eastern oil reserves, politicians seeking increased control and power, or a larger group pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Plane crashes happen in every country, but rarely does a steel structure building collapse and sink into the ground like that. This is enough for those who understand that physics do not lie.